Alright, no time to explain, gang. Welcome back. Kings F here, back with another video for you guys. Hope you guys are enjoying the start of your week. It should be Tuesday, if my memory serves me correctly. I'm sorry, my days are off. I'm always tired and I'm always sleepy and working, so I always forget what day it is. So it should be Tuesday. We're gonna go over a couple Master Duel gameplays and a little bit of a deck profile on this. Fortunately, in the last feature pack that came out last week in Master Duel, they finally added the Shining Sarcophagus cards, which is the archetypal little Yugi deck. So of course you got the standard Yugi, not the Pharaoh. His new version of his deck that was released. Those cards came out, what was it, in Legacy of Destruction? So that would have been about 6 months ago, something like that. Yeah, it was in Legacy of Destruction because Phantom came out in February. So after that would have been March, April, May. So yeah, around May-ish. So about 6 months. So actually, it's been a year. Oof, oh my goodness. No, it's this year. I forgot Legacy came out this year because it was Legacy. Then the current set, which is Rage of the Abyss. So yeah, so about 6 months ago. Timeline is horrendously off. But they finally added the cards in Master Duel, so now I was actually able to make the deck and play with them. Unfortunately, of course, the deck isn't perfect because there is a flavor of it that I play at my locals that I actually have won a couple locals with. That's because there's a couple cards that are still missing and or banned in Master Duel to make the deck a little bit more competitive and a lot more dangerous, but the deck is still very, very good. So I'm going to go over the deck profile, but I'm also going to go over a couple games as well. So of course, per usual, thank you guys for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you give us a like, comment, and a subscribe. Help us hit our goal of 750 subscribers before we hit our big 1,000 coming up very, very soon. If you want to see more Master Duel content like this, because it's been a while since I posted a Master Duel video, leave us a comment below and I'll do my best to get more of that coming on. I'm trying to integrate some more of Master Duel of the digital game as well as some more TCG content outside of just opening packs and opening up boxes, because I do actually play and I do participate in a lot of events and do decently in most of them. So do some deck profiles and a couple other things that I would just like to go over. So without further ado, I'm going to go over the deck profile and then we're going to go through a couple games just so you can see essentially how they interact. So let me switch screens so we can get to the deck profile. Alrighty, so here's the deck profile that I actually used for this deck in particular. There's a couple things I wish I could have kind of filtered in and used, but I just didn't have enough space for them. And then there was a couple things that I kind of just doubled up on. So of course, per standard, you know, it's Master Duel. I have 2 maxis. Most people usually run 3, but I feel like using 2 is enough because I really don't want to overdraw maxi, because fortunately, this deck has a pretty solid engine for the most part. So I mean, there's really about 4 cards that you can draw out of this deck that'll kind of really get your engine kind of moving with this one. So I opted to only put 2 maxis instead of 3 because I just didn't want to have the third one and have another brick. 2 Ash Blossoms, same thing as well. I want to kind of draw the things I kind of need to kind of get my deck going as soon as humanly possible. And then of course 3 Infinite Impermanence, along with the 1 There Can Be Only One, and then of course 1 Call by the Grave and 1 Crossout Designator. Since I'm pretty much playing the core hand traps and core like necessary cards, I felt like having a Crossout Designator is very beneficial. And then I never found myself to need 2 Call by the Graves really, so I only put 1 in here, so it's just in case they pocket something that I really don't want to use. And then also 2 copies of Dimension Shifter, because this deck is actually plays well under Shifter. There are cards in here that you kind of don't want to get banished, but realistically speaking, every banished card will feed into Gandora, so you generally want a lot of stuff banished. So that's why D-Shifter's in here, as well as 2 copies of the Dimensional Barrier, so that way every monster that's sent to the graveyard is banished instead, which will kill off a lot of graveyard effects, but also help feed into Gandora. As for the actual cards for the deck itself, I played 1 copy of the Silent Swordsman 0, and then 2 copies of the Silent Magician 0. So these are essentially retrains of Silent Swordsman and Silent Magicians. Essentially every turn they gain a level to a degree. Silent Swordsman, once per standby phase, he gains 1 level, and when he gains a level, he gains 500 attack points above every level that he's on. And then he's also a monster negate. So actually no, he's not a monster, he's a targeting negate. So whenever your opponent activates a card or an effect that targets Shining Sarcophagus or a monster that mentions it, you can negate that effect and then increase his level by once. You can do that once per turn. So anything that targets any of your Shining Sarcophagus cards, as long as Shining Sarc is on the field, you can negate that once per turn and then make it 500 points stronger. Silent Magician 0 is a little different. When your opponent draws a card, you gain a level. So of course, having this on the board when your opponent has a maxi out is very, very dangerous, because of course, if you can kind of just special summon out the wazoo and they just keep drawing cards, it'll keep getting stronger and stronger. Guaranteed to gain 1 level per your opponent's turn, because they have to have a draw phase unless they play something like what is that card called, Reckless Greed, which I mean, you shouldn't really be seeing that card at all in the meta at all, unless you're someone's playing a must-go-to deck or something much older. So it's very niche. But every time your opponent draws a card, he gains a level. And then he is a spell negate. So basically, if your opponent activates a spell card while you control Shining Sarcophagus, you can negate it, and it also raises level by 1. Most important card of the deck, which is why he's at 3, is Gadget Trio. When you normal summon or special summon him, you can add 1 Shining Sarcophagus or a spell or trap that mentions Shining Sarcophagus to the hand. So generally, you want to kind of open with this. Normal summon it to draw Shining Sarcophagus, play Shining Sarcophagus, and then move on from that point forward. There is a trap card that's associated with the Gadget Trio. I'm not playing it because it is kind of a brick. I really don't need it for this strategy, and I've never had a situation where it's been very, very useful, so I'm not playing it at all for those that happen to know what the trap card is. But essentially, I believe the trap card works is that if this is destroyed, you can activate the fortress, and then that gives you like another stronger bodied monster in the interim until it's destroyed. Dark Magician, the Magician of Black Magic. This card's name is a mouthful. Yugi's version of the Dark Magician. When it's on the field, its name becomes Dark Magician. And then, of course, this card is a little bit more complicated. This card really is just to have another barrier to protect yourself. So it's a 2,500 point beater. You can special summon it from the hand if Shining Sarcophagus is on the field. And if it's destroyed by a card effect and a level 5 or higher monster is on the field, you can special summon it and then set a spell or trap that mentions Dark Magician. Hence why Destined Rivals is in the deck, because Destined Rivals, as long as you control a Blue Eyes White Dragon or a Dark Magician, you will negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls in the moment until the end of the turn. So it's basically a Dark Ruler no more for your opponent without the ramifications of losing the battle phase. That's really what it's there for. If Dragoon was legal in Master Duel, then this would have been a Dragoon target, because then, of course, we'd substitute Destined Rivals with Secrets of Dark Magic, have Gandora on the field, which is a dragon, and then essentially you would combo off that way. You would use Gandora's effect, pop the Dark Magician will revive itself, then you would play Secrets of Dark. You would set the secrets so that way on your opponent's next turn, draw phase, standby phase, or whatever, activate secrets, fuse into Dragoon, and boom. The downside to that in that situation is you don't get the pops because you didn't use a normal monster, but you do get the negate, as well as something that can't be destroyed or targeted at all. So in the actual TCG, you would, if you play this, you would generally replace that with Secrets of Dark Magic and have Dragoon in the extra deck. But since he's not in Master Duel, unfortunately, I really don't know why, because Dragoon is legal in the OCG at 1 and is at 3 in the TCG. I get he was legal, he was banned for the longest period of time, but now that he's unbanned in the OCG, I don't see why they don't put him in the TCG at this point, especially considering the fact the number of fusion monsters that I deem are a lot more problematic than Dragoon at this point. But that's neither here nor there. That's just whatever is going on in the OCG and the Master Duel meta. But hopefully soon we'll get Dragoon, and when we do, this deck will become that much more powerful. And then, of course, 2 copies of Gandora G, the Dragon of Destruction. He gains 300 attack points for every card that's banished, so essentially he is a Grand Maju. And then, of course, you can special summon him. You can use his effect once per turn. If you control Shining Sarcophagus, you can special summon it from the hand. You pay half your life points, and it's a complete board wipe. So you destroy all cards as possible, and then once they're destroyed, they're banished. So the sequence with that goes, they just don't go straight to the banishment. They're destroyed and then banished. So, of course, if any card has an effect that triggers upon card destruction, they would still trigger. Hence why the Dark Magician would still work, even though the Dark Magician would then get banished because it was destroyed by a card effect and that dragon is level 8. It would resummon itself from the banishment. But also that kind of helps your opponent too, because if there's something that would trigger for them, that would trigger as well for that side. So essentially, he would destroy and then banish all cards on the field, and then you can special summon one level 7 or lower monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from your deck and increase its level by the number of cards that were destroyed by the card effect. So generally, you would use this to either special summon the Dark Magician or preferably Silent Magician 0 or Silent Swordsman 0. More or lessly, you're probably going to summon the Silent Magician 0 because it's better to have a spell negate than a targeting negate, realistically speaking. As for the other cards, of course, you have 1 Pot of Prosperity, very, very powerful card since we really don't need the extra deck that much. Have Pot of Prosperity there for that. 2 Ties that bind, so that way if you have one of the other Shining Sarcophagus monsters, you can special summon the other 2. It's a good way to kind of have Gadget Trio and then automatically get Silenced Magician as well as Silenced Swordsman out instantly on the field, so that way they can start interlocking themselves. Secret Village of the Spellcaster. That's pretty self-explanatory since you do have a Dark Magician and a Silent Magician 0. You do have a Spellcaster card, so that will lock your opponent out of spells as long as you control a Spellcaster and they don't. Of course, if those 2 cards get nuked, it does become a very big problem, because then now you're hurting yourself. Hence why there's 2, because then you can probably set the second one if you can, since there's not much card destruction in the game or in this deck to begin with. 3 copies of Shining Sarcophagus, the most important spell card in the deck. One of the big reasons why is that it can't be destroyed by monster effects, so a lot of people don't even read this card or don't even know what it does, so sometimes they'll summon a monster to try to pop a spell or trap. This card cannot be destroyed by monster effects at all, so that's a very big plus, so they have to use a spell trap to get rid of this. And then once per turn, you can add a card that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from the deck to the hand, so all of your Shining Sarc cards, spells and traps and monsters allows you to basically fish them from the deck and pull them to the hand. And then if your opponent special summons a monster from the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can discard a spell card and target one of those monsters and then send it to the graveyard. So it's not a destruction, it's a send. So anything that's immune from card destruction would essentially be able to be destroyed. So that's one of the advantages of that. 3 copies of Super Poly, just good follow-up and some stuff counteracting for your opponent's plays. Because, you know, there's a lot of fusion decks and a lot of things that will kind of help you, and especially if you happen to just brick and don't draw anything that you need, just a way to kind of clear your opponent's board and get something on the field to try to help you get moving. And then we have Turn Silence, 2 copies of that. Probably one of the best quick play spells for this deck. You could target a face-up monster you control, increases level by 3, and if you activate it in response of a monster effect activation and you control Shining Sarcophagus, then you negate that effect. And then during the damage calculation, if you're a monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus battles, you can banish this card and end the battle phase. Great card to prevent from Tempai. So if you're playing against Tempai and you have one of your monsters out in the field and Shining Sarc out and this card's in the graveyard, kills the battle phase in its entirety, shuts down Tempai Dragon, thus allowing you to follow for the next turn and pretty much wipe them out. Because if you get Gandora out on a full-fledged Tempai board and then nuke the board, that's game over. And then there's Future Silence. This is basically another quick play spell, allows you to pull a monster that mentions Shining Sarc from the deck. But if you activate it during the battle phase and you have Shining Sarcophagus, each player draws, so they have 6 cards. You generally follow this up and tag it out with Silent Magician 0. If your opponent has a couple cards in their hand, it forces them to draw until they have 6. So if your opponent has 1 card in their hand, Silent Magician 0 will gain 5 levels, or however many levels based upon the cards that they draw. So that is a very good card, especially to one-punch your opponent and kind of get them out of here at that point in time. On for the extra deck, pretty self-explanatory. All the fusion monsters are Super Poly targets. So Muck Dragon of the Swamp, 2 copies of Garura, Wings of the Resonant, Earth Golem, Agnister, Starving Venom, Fusion Dragon, followed by Predaplant, Dracus Apelia, and of course Yubel, the Loving Defender forever. Since Yubel is a staple deck and is something that you do see in higher ranks, having a Super Poly target and having Yubel as a Super Poly target is very, very powerful to clear your opponent's board. It won't touch the Phantom of Yubel, but it does allow you, since everything is a fiend and mostly every card in that deck is an effect monster, you can essentially wipe your entire opponent's board, Yubel board, summon this, inflict battle damage, and then have something for follow-up on your turn. 4 Xyz monsters. Of course, we have the Superstar Star Slayer Typhon, the Anti-Zeus, good for your opponent if they have a bunch of extra deck monsters on the field to try to kind of bounce some things around. Most importantly, I have the other 3. I have number 100 Numeron Dragon, Hope Harbinger, and Draglubion under very special occasions. The reasons that you guys are in here is because if you do the basic combo, you can end the board. You can have an ending board with Hope Harbinger. Although you need 2 level 8s, you don't need 2 dragons. Again, Dora is a dragon, but he's also level 8. Realistically speaking, if you open the field with Dark Magician and Gandora G, when you pop the Dark Magician and revive it, it'll gain 1 level. So that way, at that point in time, well, actually, realistically speaking, you would play Gadget Trio and then Gandora. Use Gandora's effect to pop the Gadget Trio, special summon the Dark Magician. The Dark Magician will then become a level 8 monster, which will then allow you to summon Hope Harbinger or Draglubion if you're on turn 2 for the One Punch Man combo. You could basically go off into Draglubion, special summon Numeron Dragon, attaching Hope Harbinger, pitch Hope Harbinger. This card will gain 10,000 attack points, and then you can just punch your opponent for game. So that's just a One Punch Man combo if you can pull it off. That's the only reason why it's there. Otherwise, you can use it for fodder for Pot of Prosperity. And then for the extra, for the Link monsters, Dark the Dark Charmer, SP Little Knight, pretty standard. Celine, Queen of the Masters, as well as Access Code Talker. If you can get them out or need to get them out, they're there, but more than likely you won't, but they're there for that purpose. So this is the deck, and then let's go on to some games, and so I can show you how the deck actually operates, and you can see how it works. So let's move on. Okay, we're going to open up into game 1 and see how the deck performs, and I can actually walk you guys through actually all the plays for this as we go through them. These are replays, by the way, they're not live. I already recorded the duels. Okay. So first things first, I believe I'm going first. Opening hand consists of Dimension Shifter, Silent Swordsman 0, Super Polymerization, and there can be only one along with a Shiny Sarcophagus. So we're in a pretty good state in terms of an opening hand. Works out quite well. So of course, open up with the Shiny Sarcophagus, and then I'm going to chain D-Shifter, so that way everything gets banished. That's also a good chain block. As you see, my opponent retaliates with Psyframe Gamma. Perfect for that one. Even though Gamma wouldn't have affected this, it wouldn't have destroyed anything when it has to be a monster effect. But he just essentially nuked the D-Shifter, which allows me to kind of get some fodder out for that. So now that resolves. The D-Shifter gets negated. He summons 2 monsters, which I really don't care about. I also have a Super Poly target now. This allows me to pull Gandora. He changed with the Max C. Really don't care still. And then we keep it moving from there. Summon the Gandora. I place it in attack mode like an idiot. You generally want to put it in defense mode unless you know you have a follow-up. Go for the Silent Magician 0, and since he has Max C, I was drawing cards, so now he has 2,500 attack points. Because I destroyed 2 cards from the field, he came out with 2,000 attack points, and he drew off the Max C, which gave him 2,500, set that there can be only one in the Super Polymerization. So he hits with the Infinite Impermanence on the Silent Magician 0, so its effect is going to get negated. This does reduce his levels down, and it stops that effect from popping off, so unfortunately that does kill my Silent Magician 0. And then he opens up with the Abomination's Prison, pulling Shavara. At this point, I realize Dark Beckoning Beast, he's playing Yubel. So open up the Spirit Gates. Standard Yubel strategy. Goes for the Chaos Summoning Beast. Use the second normal summon. Summons that. Goes right into, I believe it was Yama. Yama's going to pull another Shavara out. He's playing 2 Shavaras, which is kind of odd. And then opening the Spirit Gates, discards the Spirit of Yubel. Special summons the Spirit of Yubel. Goes ahead and gets the Nightmare Pain. Activates the Nightmare Pain. But now he also activates the Shavara to pop that. Summon it to the field. The Spirit of Yubel comes back. The big Yubel comes out. Shuffles the 2 cards back and then drops the Phantom. Pops that. Gets the Grave Squirmer. Summons Yubel Terror Incarnate. And then also chains Grave Squirmer with it. And then he should go, I believe, into Rage or what was the other one? Anguish. So he goes for Anguish. He activates Anguish's effect to essentially, so what this one does is you can target one face of monster your opponent controls. Immediately after this resolves, Link summon 1 Dark Link monster. So now he's going to use my board to essentially go off into a more powerful Link. At that point in time, I activate Super Poly. Pitch my Silent Swordsman. Snatch my Gandora and everything else in between. Into Yubel, the Loving Defender Forever. Inflict 2,000 points of damage. He can no longer Link Summon because he has to use it as material, and now it's gone, so its effect sizzles. Shavara's effect activates. Takes 2,000 points of damage, then he drops this Escape of the Unchained, so the bomb. Grave Squirmer's effect activates. Activate. There can be only one since he's playing only Fiends. The only Fiend that's left on the board that he can keep is this Phantom Yubel. He cannot resummon the Grave Squirmer. Of course, he attacks, inflicts 1,000 points of damage to me. That's not a problem. Imperm wears off, so my Magician effect goes off to effect. Chain into this. Go into SP Little Knight. SP to banish the Phantom to bait the Phantom's effect. So a Phantom's effect will trigger. You'll go ahead and summon another Yubel. Shining Sark. Get my second Gandora. He plays another Maxi. Really don't care. Go ahead and summon Gandora back. Pay half my life once again. Do a full-fledged board wipe. Resummon Silent Magician 0. He banishes the Yama. And I chain Turn Silence. Negate the Yama's effect. And also raise the level of my Magician times 5. 8,500 points of damage on the board. Search for 6,000. Attack for game. Completely dissect the Yubel's board instantly. Got rid of the Nightmare Pain, got rid of all the other baits so that way nothing could stop me. Once that was done, 6,000 points, attack straight to the face. Let's move on to the next game. All right, game 2, we're going to be moving on. I believe this game should have been a tier limit matchup. See how well it handles against tier limit. Now, tier limit's biggest weakness is D-Shifter because you don't want any of the tier cards banished. I went first, open up with D-Shifter along with a Max C and everything else in between. So, of course, first things first, chain Dimension Fissure and then chain Future Silence so that way I can draw my card. Pull the Gadget Trio. Dimension Shifter resolves, so therefore now everything is banished. And then at this point, I just go for standard combo. Gadget Trio into the Shining Sarcophagus into Gandora. Special summon Gandora. Put it in defense. Don't know what he's playing. Nuke the Gadget Trio. Special summon the Dark Magician. Was this when I went for the One Punch Man combo? No, I went to Hope Harbinger just to be on the safe side. Put that into defense mode. All right, moving on. Tier limit Scream. Okay, so this is when I realize I'm playing against tier. All right. All right, activate Shining Sarcophagus again. Go for another copy of Gandora. Drop the Gandora. Just to repeat the process, pay half my life points. He goes for the Havness, which I'm perfectly fine with. I'm like, okay, you can chain the Havness, but I'm also going to chain Max C just to be on the safe side. This also has triggered. This also has made my Triple Tactics Talents go live. Pop everything. Go for the Tillman Castira. He hits nothing. Triple tacked. I draw 2. And he scoops. All of his mills are through. Pretty much had game on board. And then, of course, drawing Future Silence would allow me to do my additional level trick once again and do it on that side. So, not too bad. That D-Shifter definitely hurt him on that first turn, but nonetheless, that's how this kind of deck works. Let's move on to game 3. Alrighty, game 3. This was a little bit different. I think this was Red Dragon Archfiends, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. We'll see in a hot moment. Playing against a variety of different decks going on at the same time. He's going first. Not a great opening hand. Well, at least I have some hand traps. So I have a Call By, 2 Infinite Impermanents, a Pot of Prosperity. So, of course, instantly, Soul Resonator, Imperm that immediately. You want to negate that. If your opponent opens with that, negate that instantly, because that's going to allow them to draw into the Bone Archfiend, which allows them to pitch something, special summon, and start going into their synchros. Still nothing good, so of course I'm going to go for Pot of Prosperity, banish 6. He goes for the Max C. I'm okay with the Max C. Did I call by that, or did I not? No, I left it alone. So opening 6. Still nothing really good on that side, but I did see the Future Silence, so of course I go for the Future Silence. Play the Future Silence to draw the Gadget Trio. Gadget Trio into Shining Sarcophagus. And then Shining Sarcophagus into Gandora. Activate Gandora, special summon. Put in defense mode to be safe. Don't know why I did that. And that's why I saved the Call By the Grave. Actually, but I actually used Turn Silence instead. My strategy around this one now, I'm going to pause right here. Now, generally speaking, I did Turn Silence to stop the Ash. I held on to the Call By the Grave because I did have the Monster Negate for that one, because you can Ash Gandora since it does require you to special summon from the grave, from the deck to the field, so that is an Ashable target. That's one way to also negate Gandora, is if you have an Ash Blossom. They pay half the life points and then this effect will essentially sizzle. But the reason I Turn Silence here instead is because just in case my plan fails as a backup plan, I want this card in the I wanted this card in the graveyard, but soon I'm going to realize I actually misplayed, because setting this card in the field and the chain link of Gandora will actually banish my Turn Silence, so I won't be able to actually use it in the graveyard. So this was a mistake that I did make, but it really wasn't that big of a mistake. It was just I had a plan, didn't think it all the way through in terms of the chain link resolution, so it ended up getting banished by accident as opposed to being just sent to the graveyard. But it still worked out well, so we're going to keep it going. So negated that, board wipe, popped everything. Now, one thing I will say is, one thing I didn't understand is the cards I destroyed was a Call By the Grave and an Infinite Impermanence. Now, I had nothing to call by, so that was one thing. Why on earth he didn't Imperm Gandora is beyond me. I have no idea why he chose not to Imperm Gandora. He should have done that. If he would have did that, that would have hurt me more, because I would have lost the life points and its effect would have been negated. So when I Turn Silence the Ash Blossom, he could have Impermed the Gandora. I don't know why he didn't do that. That was a huge misplay on his behalf, but I'm going to compromise off the misplay. because that was just stupid. I don't know why he wouldn't do that. He had the trap on the field. I don't know why he just didn't play it. And so thus, what was that? The card I played? Oh yeah, I did draw Ties That Bind, so I did play Ties That Bind on the Silent Magician to get the Swordsman out. Punch for 4,500, punch for 1,000. Of course, because I played Pot of Prot, he only took half the damage, and then I set my 2 hand traps. We're pretty much in play at this point. So now he imperms this, but because imperm targets, Silent Swordsman can negate the imperm. He's stuck in a loop. So now my target negate is taken care of. Silent Swordsman gets 500 extra attack points. He gains a level. He gets no level because of the standby phase. Goes for the monster effect. Summons another Soul Resonator. I instantly go for the imperm it again. He has 2 tuners on the board, so there's nothing he can do. And then he goes for the Resonator Call. Negate it with the Silent Magician 0. And that's GG's, but I believe he surrenders. Yep. A huge misplay by not using that imperm on the Gandora. That was a huge misplay. I don't know what he was thinking or what he was doing, but to my advantage. I had a minor misplay, but at the same time, it led to the exact same result. Still walked out with the W. On to game 4. Okay, game 4 is on the way. This was a branded deck, if memory serves me correctly. We'll see which one we'll see how this one game goes. I don't necessarily remember how this went. So I'm going second, but I do open up with Maxi and Dimension Shifter. So of course in the draw phase, I activate D-Shifter, and of course then he chains Branded in High Spirits, and I chain Maxi to that, figuring that he's going to be special summoning some monsters. So of course, just to be on the safe side, I instantly go in for that. So there's a Fallen of Albaz that he pulls back, pitching out that and that. Pulls Albion the Sacred Dragon. They go to the graveyard because he did follow it within the chain link, so before everything is banished, go straight in Aluber into Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion. Now my advantage here is Branded Fusion is now banished. It's a one of now. Goes into the Sanctifier Dragon. And then 2 face down cards. And then of course goes for the Quim. I draw another Maxi. I don't know. That was just really bad luck. I drew both my Maxis. I only played 2 in the deck, and I drew both of them. All right, so let's see what we got here. I do have everything, so I'm going to start baiting out some hand traps. Going to Gadget Trio, pull the turn Silence, play Shining Sarcophagus. He goes for the Branded in red. So he redraws the Fallen of Albaz. Now he's going to fuse. Doing that, I believe, is going into the Borlone Furious Dragon. Now, you can target one monster you control on one card your opponent controls and destroy it. So of course he goes for the Aluber, but then he targeted the Shining Sarcophagus. Cannot be destroyed by monster effects, so therefore that was a waste. Go into Gandora. Summon Gandora in attack mode because a lot of cards have been banished at this point in time. Use the Sanctifier to pull the other cards back out from the grave. Don't know really why he did that. I pitched my, I essentially use the effect of Shining Sarcophagus, pitching the Pot of Prosperity, so that way my my D-Fission went back. Board wipe. Swing for game. Mincemeat out of Branded. All right, let's go to the 5th and final game. All right, guys, 5th and final game. This was against Tenpai Dragon. Of course, the #1 deck right now, the one-turn kill deck that everybody's playing, and that's a pain in the butt for everything. So I'm going second. I chose to go second because I didn't know if I was playing Tenpai or not. So, of course, we go into this. So, instant for the Sangan summoning. So I'm like, great, we're playing Tenpai. So, fortunately, with the Tenpai Dragon, when they go first, they have to do a couple little things different. They can still build a pretty oppressive board just to get to the second turn before they do anything else. So he's going to go ahead and combo it off. He's got Chandra, he's got Fadra, and he's got Genroku out. He's going to go for the Biden Dragon. I believe this is the double Biden Dragon play that some people play. I don't know why. Resummons Chandra, goes into another Biden Dragon. All right, end phase. Opening hand consists of D-Fissure, Secrets, Village of the Spellcaster, Turn Silence, and there can be only one. So really my only card that's going to help me is going to be this Dimension Fissure and this There Can Be Only One, because this entire deck is Dragon, so therefore that instantly kills Tenpai the second things hit the board. So I have something to get out of it, but I have nothing really to open the game with, so we're going to see how we draw. Draw phase, draw Gadget Trio. Perfect. Play D-Fissure. He goes for the Max C instantly, which is fine. Start off with Gadget Trio. Draw the Shining Sarcophagus. Shining Sarcophagus into Gandora. Gandora into using his effect. Blow the board. Summon the Silent Magician 0. He goes for the Infinite Impermanence instantly. Fine by me. Use Imperm my Magician. So I can't do that much damage. But now that I have my Magician out, Secret Village of the Spellcaster drops. So now that just instantly cut off another Sengen Summoning, which to my knowledge, is Sengen Summoning limited to 1 in OCG? No, it's at 2. Okay, just double checking. It's limited to 1 in the TCG now, and I think maybe in the OCG it might be at 1, but in Master Duel it's limited to 2. So just in case he was to get another one, I instantly cut that off by dropping Secret Village of the Spellcaster, because there's no way he's playing Spellcasters in this deck. And then of course I do have my Magic Negate, my Spell Negate at the next turn, along with 2 copies of Turn Silence. So then I go to the battle phase, do 3,500 points of damage, lay one of the Turn Silences face down, and pass turn. Currently a follow-up, he draws a card, gains 500 attack points, goes for the Tenpai Dragon. And there's the second Sengen Summoning, exactly why I played it. But he had to play it face down because he can't play spell cards since he doesn't have a spellcaster. Goes for the Black Rose Dragon. So of course he's going to activate the Black Rose's effect. When this card is Synchro Summon, you destroy all cards on the field. Nuh-uh. Turn Silence, boost his level by 3, and negate the Black Rose Dragon. Goes to destroy the Gandora, Future Silence, and the battle phase. Draw phase, draw an Ash Blossom, use Shining Sarcophagus, go for the Future Silence, battle phase, Future Silence, draw the Swordsman 0, force him to draw 5, Magician gains 5 levels, turn Silence into that, swing for game. Taking care of Tenpai Dragon. And that's how that deck operates. So that's going to do it for this deck. If in case you guys are interested in playing this deck, you can guys go at the beginning of the video and check out the deck profile and copy this deck and try it out. If you did like this tutorial and did like basically going over some of the gameplay for this, give me a like, give me a comment, and give me a subscribe. Tell me a couple decks that you guys would like to kind of go over. I'm not the biggest person on a whole lot of decks. I do like to play certain special decks, and I'm going to be going over a little bit more stuff that I do in the TCG in the very, very near future, because there's about 3 or 4 decks that I'm going to be kind of alternating around this season until the next ban list kind of comes out, and also until I can actually fully utilize a couple of the newer cards that are coming in future sets. But if you did like this video and did like this, give me a like, give me a comment, give me a subscribe, and tell me what you think. And tell me if you learned anything. See if you want to try this deck out. I do have a TCG version of this deck that I do play at my locals. I can go over that in the deck profile as well for those that actually play the physical card game, because there are differences since there are cards that are not banned or not available. So check that out if you want to. Just let me know. But in the meantime, this is King Zeph. No time to explain. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.